Good evening, everyone. My name is Ankit Goenka, and I head customer experience for Bajaj Allianz General Insurance Company. It gives me great pleasure to have such an eminent panel today. And the topic, guys, that have been given to us is all about data and personalization, right? And when we talk about insurance, obviously, it adds the whole challenge around that. Now, before we actually get into the discussion, I wanted to share one personal experience with all of you, right? It's a wow experience that I personally felt. It was not from an insurance company though, but an airline. But I guess it's the right example to set the tone for the discussion. So recently I was coming back to India from a country and the flight got delayed. So usually what happens, the flight gets delayed, you may get a dabba, with some juice or a muffin and sandwich, right? That's a typical way that any airline kind of works, right? To my surprise, one of the crew members just walked up to me, right, recognized me and said, Mr. Goenka, we really apologize for this delay, but this delay is beyond our control. However, by the time you wait, to get onboarded, why don't you enjoy this drink? And we believe this is the drink that you enjoy when you are on board. I was like, wow. If you really look at personalization, right, it's a very small thing, right, a small drink, right? But I kind of, because I was waiting for the flight, I kind of, thought about that entire process. That how did they actually make that happen, right? Somebody might have captured that data correctly. So data capture was absolutely perfect, right? That Ankit Goenka enjoys this X drink on that. I don't recall whether they took my consent or not, right? But in this scenario, I'm okay with it, right? Because I'm getting a value, right? Then somebody actually thought of creating that entire scenario. That, hey, in case a flight gets delayed by X hours or X minutes, whatever, right, an alert needs to come to the ground staff at the airport, right? Then they made that process that somebody actually has to look at that alert. It's not only about the alert being sent, right? Somebody actually is looking at it. Not ending with that, they made sure that they had the whereabouts of that drink, the ingredients available at that airport, right? And then finally, the physical part that somebody actually came, recognized me and handed over and served that drink. I guess that was a great example when you look at data, somebody really capturing it correctly, using the technology to create those alerts, and then that entire human bit to it, adding to that, right? So I guess, with that, let me quickly go on to Hari. Now, as I was talking about this example, right, data, and I know from a general insurance standpoint, you are also being from general insurance. For us, the customer data is a pain area, right? Because usually we don't really get the right whereabouts of the customer, right? So how do you really go about, fixing this piece in terms of the strategy, the process, technology?
Thanks, Ankit. Always when you hear a good experience and everything fell in place, actually, in your experience, one thing going wrong and that experience would not have happened. An alcoholic drink going to a non-alcoholic person, a teetotaler, or a wrong thing, or addressing someone by even the wrong pronunciation, forget the wrong name, makes a lot of challenge there. So entire thing has to work like a seamless mechanism.
Correct.
Before we come to, how do you solve, we have to understand what is the problem. And insurance industry, all our fellow insurance panelists, first thing I think is the availability of the data and the trust issue around that. So how do you overcome that? So be it the contact details or the customer personal data, all the KYC data. Here is the insurer who feels that they can do many things with that. And here is the partner who feels that he owns the data and feels very closely bonded with that and loath to give it. It has been a year and a half with the implementation of the KYC norms.
Right.
It has been a learning for everyone, and everyone may have had their own examples also. What we see as a challenge there is that, okay, some 40-50%, where those who have been KYC verified earlier also and their database exists, and you are able to get that number, that's easy. But even there, the contact details, the addresses, at times they have updated are very old. And
Correct.
With those who are not giving that, where it is not a match, then the quality of documents which comes from them, because the partner has to issue a policy quickly and is looking amongst those 30-35 insurance players who can help him to circumvent this process and help get the policy issued. So how do you really collect the correct set of document? How do you tag it? How do you do the intelligent recognition to be able to then create that KYC for future for that customer? So that insurers I know are doing it with AI and ML partners. And I would not say that the success has been whole hog, but the effort is on and we are all learning on the way. And then also the way you structure your data and you save it in the systems. There are plethora of systems because when you started the insurance company, you did not start with one system in mind and you built it over a period of time. So maybe your health policy is getting issued somewhere, your motor policy is getting issued anywhere, and even if you are doing a transition and you built the customer personal properties of data differently, like maybe you build the address with 3 lines, someone built a field for a landmark, someone called it maybe a home phone number, someone called it that alternate phone number, and so this variety of data has emerged, and how do you make sense of that mayhem? So actually you do try to bring it all into one platform, maybe a warehouse or a data platform, and then you use, and of course I'm sure there are many partners here, you use the right partners to be able to achieve what you are feeling is a golden record or the single source of truth, to understand, okay, if this is Ankit or this is Hari, these are really all his policies and he has one customer, and you then, basis that understanding, create the rules for the future. So these are the challenges to overcome, and I think that everyone in their own way is finding ways around that. But honestly, I've seen that not anyone can say that it has been 100% successful. It's a journey that continues, but good thing is there is hope at the end of the tunnel because of these new practices and the guidelines which are there and the way it is being implemented. I think the last thing on this is where I started from culture. So building that trust, and that trust only can help you get the right data because you may have all the receptacles, all the systems, and you can analyze only what you get. And that only can help you to overcome that.
Thanks, Hari, for that. And with that, let me quickly, go to Neha, sitting right next to you. Neha, while Hari talked about those challenges, right? I actually want to ask you some use cases where you, in your role, have actually seen some success stories around this entire personalization. If you can share some real-life use cases with some matrices.
Right. Namaste, everybody. We at TechWaith provide services of digital transformation and technology, UX, engineering to a large set of insurance, banking companies, especially BFSI. That's the major portfolio of ours. Before I get into a case study, I want to talk a little bit about what is personalization and how do you categorize it. Personalization, like we all know, is when my mom knows that I like this sabzi in this way, and my dad likes it this way, that itself is personalization, right? Personalization starts from home, it's everywhere. Yeah. We've just taken it to digital. There are 3 types of personalization. There are 3 categories. There's explicit, implicit, and contextual. What you spoke about right now as an example is a great example of explicit personalization, where I personalize an individual's experience. Netflix does it beautifully. It recommends to you the movie that you will like based on whatever data it has about your viewing history. That's explicit, very difficult to attain, especially in the insurance sector. How do you personalize a policy for an individual? Very, very difficult, right? Implicit is what is easier, and the case study I'll share will be around implicit, where you do it for a bunch of similar people who are a persona. So there's a persona of young geeks who go to college and they like a certain thing. So I can personalize for that persona. So that's what I'll share. And contextual is, which is for everybody on the context. So when you're going through say like a subway, your Google map turns black. That's contextual personalization. It is beyond persona. It's dependent on the context you're in. When a pop-up comes saying, move to a Wi-Fi because this data is large, that's a contextual personalization. So implicit personalization is, I remember we were working with a bank. This is a case study on a bank, not insurance, but similar field. They had a rewards program. This reward programs, they wanted to build a portal because the redemption on the rewards program was not high, while their rewards program is the best in the industry. They've got, great rewards for everything that you do with that bank, from a funds transfer to opening an account to every little thing that you do with the bank, you get a reward point. Yeah. So, but the redemption on the portal was very poor. we were looking at the portal and we were saying that, let's redesign this. What do you do to revamp? And we started meeting a few customers of theirs. And we realized that all the customers are not the same. And we all know that, right? All customers are not the same. And we saw there's distinction between 3 different kinds of customers. There's one which is masses, whose redemption is a McDonald's burger, whose redemption is a Flipkart subscription, Flipkart product, Amazon voucher. They are masses. They're very happy with those redemptions. They want to see lots of programs, lots of things that they can redeem, right? The variety is good for them. They want to see a lot of things that they can quickly redeem, and they redeem in parts. They don't redeem the entire point together. They've got like 1,000 points, they'll redeem 500, and they'll come back to redeem 500. They redeem 500 for themselves, 500 for their kid. So they break down their rewards program. There was a behavior that they had. Versus another one, which is my ultra HNI client, who's got large amounts of reward program because they're transferring a large amount of money. They've got, their minimum balances are very high. Their behaviors are very different. They don't redeem a 500. They redeem a 10,000. And they redeem a flight to Paris. They don't redeem a McDonald's. Right? So you cannot have a portal which serves to everybody. There can't be a cookie cutter approach. There has to be an approach which is personalized to who this audience is. And then came the whole idea of personalization, and we built this reward program portal which has got really high adoption. The redemptions are very high. And the personalization was not a skin. It's not a UI skin that, make it purple for an HNI or a black for a wealth customer. That's just the beginning. The layout, the conversation, the products that we showed, I would show a big travel redemption for him at the top. I would not sell that, you have so many points, redeem. I wouldn't do that sales exercise with them. I would give an experience to them. Versus masses, I would tell them transactional, you have so many points, redeem now, they're expiring on this day, these are 10 things you can do, last time you did this, you may want to do this again. By the way, the HNI clients did not want to see last time I did a travel, I want to do it again, because they want different experiences every time, right? So the whole way in which we looked at the portal, the conversations we did with the customer on those portals were very different, and it was very rewarding because the numbers changed. What were the metrics we were tracking? We were tracking how many people started redeeming points now. That went up. What is the average redemption in a month? That went up. What is the traffic, of course, that went up. So every metrics saw a movement to the north by just simple personalization. No great technologies used, no AI used in this, by the way. Just simple personalization. The next level is, of course, to use AI to create personalization, but a great case study to say that personalization can go a long, long way in getting success to businesses.
Yeah. So Neha, a follow-up question, on that what you said. When we talk about segmentations in the market, right, be it insurance or largely segmentation we see in banking, right? It's a segment of customers. A cluster of customers put into one segment. Is that the right approach, or the future is segment of one? Which is every customer is a segment.
This gets us back to the explicit and implicit,
yeah.
Right? Explicit is very, very difficult, but AI can enable explicit, and that's the beauty of AI. I heard a gentleman in the morning say that they have, in their insurance, they customize policies to individuals,
right.
Which is explicit, which is the way to go.
Correct.
If I drive safe, why should I pay such high premium?
Absolutely.
I'm unlikely to even ask you for a claim. Right?
True.
So explicit is the way, but very difficult to attain. We have to get a lot of data for that. Today the problem is data. We don't have data. There are no data warehouses. The data lies in silos. So all of that, once we get our hands right on that,
correct,
is when we'll get to explicit.
Sure. Thanks. And since both you and Hari talked about AI, so let me pick up that topic and come to Bhaskar, that if you can share some light about this entire buzzword of AI, Gen AI, or some new technologies. How does it really enable this entire hyper-personalization?
Okay. So, good afternoon, everyone. Before coming to AI, ML, and technologies, technology is just an enabler. It could be AI, ML, it could be human intelligence who is going through the data and trying to make best use of it. So, we started with Ankit talking about a personalized experience because of whatever. Either they have his profile stored somewhere, they are using that. So the great examples of personalized services, Netflix, Amazon, and another example I read recently of Pampers, right? Diapers, they said.
Right.
So when you go to Pampers site, the site will suggest to the mother the size of the diaper,
Yeah.
not based on the data that she has input, that
Okay.
my baby is less than 6 months. It is based on the other product the person is buying. So it is guessing from that this must be the age of the baby, and therefore this is the right size.
Right.
Right? So this they have reached another level of personalization, and they are using that to market their product, or more importantly, catch the customers, right? So these kind of experiences, when a customer experiences, they get hooked onto that particular brand, call it platform. So this is how you capture your customers. Now, if I talk about insurance industry, we are way, way behind. I think what we do, instead of personalization, we do something like a categorization. So for us, the important thing is what is the age bracket of the customer,
Right.
what is the income of this customer, customer coming from service industry or self-employed,
Yeah.
or city tier 1. So we have our own, it is not based on customer feedback or from the customers what they want. This is what product we sell, and therefore what kind of categorization helps us to
True.
sell those products to those categories of people. So we do these categorization, static things, and then we try to push some of our products to those customers, thinking that this is the, life stage of this customer. These are the products possibly the customer will need, and let us push that when the customer comes to us, whether
Right.
through a call center, whether through our website, portal, anywhere. So, but the challenge that we face as an industry, I will not say that we are backward because we want to be backward. The problem is that the customer, the frequency with which a customer goes to an Amazon site and the kind of products he, browses through, that gives a lot of data points which an insurance company doesn't get.
Right.
We get some data points, which is when we are sourcing a policy, we have an application form. We have defined some data points which the customer has to fill. We have got those data points. Otherwise, we have rarely a customer coming to our website through a login. The customers may be coming to our website, but we do not recognize those customers, not able to recognize those customers. When they log in, they do very few limited service requests other than, or maybe some products that they browse through. More than that, it is very difficult to get some valid data points on which we can predict that what is the behavior of this customer.
Right.
And we have only limited products. We can only, on our website, there is only insurance product that we are the producers of, right? So we cannot even check what is the behavior of this customer. Now, if, let us say, what kind of customization or personalization a customer of an insurance industry would like to have, okay? So one could be that if I can, predict that what is the need of this customer on the types of services. So, for example, if the customer visits on our portal, if from the past experiences we know that the most frequent visit of this customer was because of he wanted to do a fund switch. So I'm talking about life insurance industry here. So doing a fund switch, let us say he has a ULIP product, he frequently comes and does a fund switch, right? So instead of showing these are all my services, can I then customize that page to say that at the top is the fund switch? So the customer first sees the fund switch, and again we say that the last 3 times you are selecting this fund, right? So instead of, I may be having 10 or 15 funds, but why show that? At the top I can show 3. He can of course choose whatever else fund he wants to choose. If currently I don't think any one of us even doing that. Right. And beyond that, I think of course we have a limitation of what else can we show. But even let us say the premium payment. If the customer has done in the past premium payment through a net banking, we may have 5 different avenues. We can offer credit card, we can have net banking, we can also show that, that you can have a check which can be picked up from your residence. But if the person has never, used that, so are we customizing that page to show that this is the top one? Right? So
Understood.
These are the very few things possibly we can still do with the data that we have of the customer, but we have not even reached that place.
Agreed.
Other things, like we said, that it is only that data that we have asked from the customer has given, That too, I mean, could be that some of these outdated, we struggle to even reach customers on the contact numbers given by him because he does not come regularly and updates his contact number if it changes. Like in my personal role currently, we have a function called, from banking industry and in insurance industry, we are struggling to reach customers whose unclaimed monies are lying with us, right? So the customer's money is lying with us. As an industry, we are trying to chase those customers to give that money. I don't know how many industries actually do that. That the money is lying with them and they spend money to find out those customers. And we are struggling to do this basic thing. We are not able to trace those customers.
I agree with you.
So we are Stone Age in terms of having a good connect with the customer, able to know what are the preferences of the customer, what the customer wants, and make it simple and also in a way prompt at various stages, various touch points, various interactions, so that the customer remembers those interactions. Like Ankit remembers that interaction, he will be forever loyal to that airline.
Absolutely.
His first preference whenever he is buying a ticket will be that airline. Right?
For sure.
So if we can give these kind of small, it is not a big experience.
Absolutely.
Right? For that airline, they would not have spent a lot of money to do that. Right?
Nothing at all in a way.
But
actually speaking, nothing at all.
Yeah. So if we can give these experiences to customers, those customers will be loyal to these companies for life. But yes, we have a lot of challenges to overcome. And we are using AI/ML to a certain extent, I think, in underwriting a lot. Risk. So basically, risk areas are where we are spending more money and more efforts in AI/ML. We have more data and we get data from external sources also, which is now, of course, we need explicit consent for everything that we do with the data that we have of the customer. But we still are doing, but customer experience, I think we are still far behind and a lot of way to catch up.
Thanks. Neha, you wanted to say something?
I have a question. While, I hear this from the insurance industry a lot of times, and I'm not from the insurance industry, so I'm from the other side of the table, that we don't have the data, so we can't personalize. Yes, you don't have the data of an individual, but you have collective wisdom of so many policies that you're selling. Yes. Don't you know that women prefer a roadside assistance add-on when they buy a motor policy? You never show it upfront to us. Don't you know that, what kind of add-on will sell more for who? At a young age, maybe they don't have a driver, but you try to sell him a driver ka policy when he's buying as an add-on. Correct. So there is so much collective wisdom that you have that you can utilize to sell your various, add-ons that you have. I get at my, wit's end when I look at the menu on the life insurance websites, the kind of products you have on term insurance, retirement plans. I don't know which one to buy. Why don't you just tell me what I should buy? So, there's so much you can do, I think, and not always saying that we don't have individuals' data. You have collective data of so many individuals.
I agree with that. In fact, talked about life insurance. I'll not, name that insurance company, but this insurance company actually called one of my relative, and she is 63 years old, right? And they called her for a retirement policy, right? So, when we in the age of personalization, I don't know what kind of personalization that insurance company was looking. Now coming to you, Gautam, I guess the most critical question. We talked about challenges, we talked about, technologies, explicit, implicit, contextual, whatever it is, it is the data, right? Now when we look at data, the customer consent, right, the data security around that, right, how do you really balance the business goal vis-a-vis the real data security of customer, personalized data? And how do you really, build that piece in terms of taking an explicit consent or an implicit consent? We have too much of opt-in, opt-out kind of scenarios going here and there. How do you really manage that piece?
Okay, that's a very interesting question, and I'm sure everybody wants an answer to that. Just taking a cue from what Baswar said, that something like underwriting, right? It's a time-consuming and inefficient a process which unfortunately brings about a lot of inefficiencies for a marketer like us. because we want the policy to be shipped to the customer as soon as possible, whereas the risk has to be underwritten and you cannot ignore any of the aspects. So there are a lot of new age systems available, like there is IIB data from where you can do a check. You can get data from CIBIL and you can understand the credit worthiness of the customer. You can get CKYC documents from, by doing a eKYC or CKYC, and the KYC part is taken care of. However, we are largely dependent on distributors, and distributors per se are not allowed to access some of this information, and it becomes a logistical nightmare for us to go ahead and integrate with their systems. So so I completely agree with you that there has to be some balance that has to be brought in whenever there is consent to be drawn from the customer. I remember one of the initiatives which would have made a customer's life very, very easy in terms of buying a policy, but we could not go ahead and implement it because our legal felt that we do not have the consent in place. Whereas a platform like eKYC is meant to make the life of the customer very, very simple. But at the same time, personalization, we try to do a lot around personalization. We try to customize a product as close to the customer's need as possible. As Neha said, you have 3 kinds of personalization, and but sometimes things do go wrong. So I remember one instance where we decided we would do a personalization campaign by identifying the date of birth of the customer and sending out mails stating that you can save so much on your premium by insuring today. Unfortunately, it went to a customer who hadn't really bought a policy from us.
Right.
And luckily it did not explode, but something like this can explode on your face at any point of time, resulting in a lawsuit. So it is, sometimes so for that we have built-in checks and balances, and one of the critical checks for us is for each and every initiative we take, we kind of go to the compliance team and we check with them if we can go ahead and do it, because as marketers, our KRA, our bread and butter is ROI. We don't think anything beyond ROI. But imagine, Ankit, if that drink was served to my 17-year-old son, because both of you love soccer, and as per the airlines manifest on personalizing data, every soccer lover who likes Formula 1 should be served a mojito. That would have been a big blunder, right?
Absolutely.
So
no, I agree. Data you can capture. That today there are various third-party sources also from there. You get data like you talked about IIB or the bureau, right? But the key thing, and this is what I kind of practice internally, is if anybody in the company wants to collect certain data of a customer, right? My first question is, what is the value the customer will get out of this data point that you are collecting? If you are collecting it for your hobby, then no approval. If you are collecting it for delivering certain value to the customer, right? Because at the end of the day, it's the customer who's paying for it, no? Right? So it is our moral duty to deliver that value, and if we can deliver that value, the customer will give you that consent. As customers, we are absolutely fine. We are tolerable in those terms that yes, if you give me some value, I am ready to give you this data. The problem comes in where you're not delivering anything, and you are taking that data just for the sake of taking that data.
But slight difference of opinion on that, Ankit, is that see, what's right for you may not be right for me.
Absolutely.
What's right for a marketer is not necessarily right for the underwriting team or for the compliance team, right? For example, just take an example, you said somebody offered your 63-year-old aunt a retirement plan, right? But let's look at it this way, okay, from a marketer's perspective. A person at 60 just retires, receives a huge corpus from gratuity, PF, and all those sources, and all their savings are in place, and suddenly has a maturity to understand that you are getting in more funds today than you would need, for example, but also realize that thanks to inflation, once I'm at 72, 73 years, my medical expenses are going to really shoot up. This customer may want to actually now start investing in another product, which will give them annuities at a later point.
Absolutely. So that's the value.
So it is there's a lot of subjectivity, and that's why it's very difficult to say who's right and who's wrong, and it's a tough call.
No, I agree with you. It's a tough call, and you rightly mentioned that what works for an X company may not work for a Y company. It all depends upon what kind of customers you have, what are your customer needs, and how your scheme of things, fall in place. I guess our time is also up. We can keep on talking about this topic. I guess it's a never-ending, topic, right? But Zoya, can we take one or two questions? If the time permits, one or two questions?
Yeah, we can take one question. Can we have a mic, please, there?
Respected panel, thank you very much. So I have 2 points actually. One of them pertains to the point which Bhaswar Roy sir mentioned regarding capturing the data vis-a-vis Amazon and insurance like. So we are actually a tech company, and just to illustrate or sharing some food for thought maybe. So we kind of participated in a hackathon, and wherein we were kind of integrating a solution for InsurTech with the messaging platform. And we actually lost out in the finals because there were other competitors who were offering in e-commerce sector and customer servicing, and the jury asked us like, what is the number of touch points that your application is going to have with the customer throughout a year, and other than just selling an insurance or sending some reminders. And in fact, we didn't have any answer for that. We compare it with the e-commerce buying platform where there are multiple interaction, multiple touch points, or even for a customer servicing thing wherein there's a multiple interaction. So actually, that's food for thought. Basically, what kind of engagement we could have for a policy buyer or the end user throughout the year, other than just sending a policy or reminder or an odd claim. So that's one part. And secondly, I wanted to have your views on embedded insurance. Other than the routine, I would say small cost products like we have for airline booking or mobile or small devices. How do you foresee the future for embedded insurance in a more meaningful way where, a buyer makes a conscious decision, something which really adds value to him?
So, again, my experience is limited to life insurance, so I will comment only the life insurance part. There is, other than paying the premium, so there are two interactions. One is that once a customer buys a life insurance product, the customer is only expected to pay the premiums. Now, insurance companies push them towards setting up an auto debit. That is the push from the insurance company so that the future premiums come regularly on time. Some customers agree. Therefore, that customer need not even come to the portal in future because the premiums will get deducted. Other than if there is a servicing issue. Servicing could be the customer wants to change his contact number, address, change the nomination, or there could be products where there are withdrawal, there could be a loan facility in that, right? So he can withdraw loan. Other than that, the customer may not come ever. Other than, of course, there could be a complaint case. So other than servicing aspects are very few where the customer can come. In general insurance, I mean the non-life part, the contracts are of 1 year. So every year and you do not know the customer will stick with you again next year or not. So you have basically a 1 year window through which the customers can be with you, and after that the customers can choose to continue or may go somewhere else.
Right. So is there anything which can be done to really make him engaged?
See, the point that you mentioned about that embedded insurance, or if you can, also complement that, sachet insurance products. Okay. The point is that when you look at the main lines of businesses, there, if your both frequency and severity are higher, you're going to bleed, right? So you can't really, think of that, from a claim paying standpoint, and you kind of hope that, okay, not many claims come. But when you look at these embedded insurance or sachet products, there you should let the customer experience the claim. Okay, the frequency will be high, severity will be low. Now these are your times when you can actually get the customer to experience the claim, because for an insurance, it's only the claim experience that really matters, right? That's the moment of truth, right? To build that trust that, hey, for this small amount, right, the insurance company was pretty quick in settling the claim to me. If you can win that trust and keep on building on that, the engagement keeps on going, right? Because you need to keep in mind, as an insurance company, the core job of you is to pay claims, right? So get that, create those products, those sachet products where your customers will be bound to claim and you pay. But then the hook is that you get them to the main line of businesses.
Just one point to add. When we look at insurance, we typically tend to focus on only one component of it, which is protecting. That is, the calamity happens, and at that time you get back to him. But how really mature insurers and mature markets behave are prevention, protection, and also the pampering. So the education happens on the prevention side. Neither is it in the customer's interest nor in the insurance interest to have a claim, because no one wants to go to a hospital to claim. It's not a happy situation. So how do you help them build? And there the engagement can happen. For example, in our health product, there's an engagement, we label it as a product that you don't only need to use one day, but you relate it with your lifestyle. You keep on building points, and it is not only for the discount at the time of renewal, but the whole engagement you get with the lifestyle, the advisory that you get over there. And then throughout the year you are engaging with them. And then the last aspect is where you are like sort of pampering, you get into a ecosystem of services. So for example, if the senior citizen who received the call, if it was regarding, at a 70 years or 65 for elderly care, or that is baked into the health insurance. So there are ways where it is not, if you go by the technical pure term of insurance, that becomes way of better embedding and meeting the customer needs.
Can I have a last question?
Thank you.
Yeah, please.
So, see, we are talking of reaching customers with data-driven personalization. Now, as the DPDP Act goes live, I would just want to know from the GI and the LI, what are the biggest challenge you foresee, and how you're getting ready for that?
Yeah, as we discussed, at least for GI, the customer data and the KYC for us has just started, right? While in life, obviously, it was there, banking, it has been there. For GI, the KYC mandate has just kind of started, right? We are just kind of learning from that, right? So for us, it's actually a learning phase, right? Where we are learning, and I would say we have a last entrant advantage, right? Because we are late to the party, right? This KYC or this entire data, everybody has really minted, right? We are the last one. We know that what has worked, what has not worked, right? And what has worked also there, we can now look beyond, right? But still, it's a learning phase for us right now, right? But when you talk about any of the acts or compliances, the take that I have is it's black or white, right? There is no gray area when you talk of real statutory or regulatory compliances, right? It has to be pure black and white.
I have to add from the LI side. So the earlier, application form, we are getting a lot of information, but the Act says that this data that we are collecting initially, subsequently there is no data that we are getting from the customer. That can be used only for underwriting and claims. For any other use, we have to take explicit approval again from the customer. So if we want to use any of this data which is already with us, if we have to use it, let us say, I want to offer you another product, right? But you are with me for 5 years. 5 years back, you had disclosed some income. I do not know what is your current income. But it is very easy, basis your details that I already have, which is the PAN card and other things. I can get from any of the credit bureaus your current credit rating, right? I can get it on basis that I can know that what is your financial status now, and basis that can I offer you a product. But with this, I will not be able to do it myself as an insurer. I will have to take your approval, explicit, that please approve this. Then I go ahead and take from the market, what is the financial status of this person, and then I can offer. So that is the difference that will come.